GSL.
What's up, guys? We're back. It's time to go to the second best of 3, and then we're going to find out who's going to be in the winner's match here for today's GSL Code S. So that first series, I mean, Hero looks like there's no way he should not get out of the group.
The best players right now look so much better than everyone else, like Maru, Parting, and Hero. They're just like, you watch them, you're like, you guys are so good, it's stupid.
Yeah, there is a huge disparity in skill. I think the round of 8 is going to be ridiculous. But Hero is definitely getting out of this group. Dream is a solid player, but unfortunately, he is no match.
Not that match, at least. I mean, I think if they play like 5 best of 3s against each other, Dream will take 1 or 2, I think, but that series was just like so Hero the entire way. Even when he was like throwing some stuff away, it was just like, no, he already made too many strategically correct decisions, and he's too far ahead.
Do you think this matchup here is going to be a little bit closer, ByuL and Curious?
Well, it's ZvZ, so it is a little bit more volatile sometimes than the other matchups based on early build orders. A little bit hard to say, man, because like ByuL is so good right now, but Curious is not someone that I like disrespect as far as Zergs go, for sure. He's like someone that I think on a given day, if he plays his best, he can absolutely give someone like ByuL a run for his money.
It is important to note that Curious is going to have to do his compulsory military service soon. If you don't know what we're talking about, all able-bodied young Korean men are required to do 2 years of military service. Right. Doesn't mean they are fighting necessarily like in a war, but they have to do some form of either community service or just serve in army training. Now, whenever you do that, your pro gaming career is basically done.
Yeah.
We've seen people come back and be pro gamers, but not win major tournaments. Not.
Yeah.
Their existence is normally one of coaching. A lot of them do become commentators. So today's going to be interesting because if Curious is knocked out, it doesn't just mean a lot for the makeup of the round of 8. It means a lot for the life of the player Curious.
Yeah, it certainly does. And to just like super verify that, it's like in StarCraft 1, we never had anyone successfully go to the military and then come back. It was never really successful. And then in StarCraft 2, we haven't seen that either. We have seen people that already did their military service enter into StarCraft 2 and be successful, but that's different.
Yeah, that's
because it's like StarCraft 2 is a new game, and you know it's.
Now, in case you're wondering, just because we're on this topic, some celebrities or athletes do defer their service by a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of players defer it if you're doing well.
I believe the majority of our players that are of a certain age have all done it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, unfortunately, it gets harder and harder to do that, and it's also really a question of, there's a period in your life where you have to do this thing for 2 years and then everything after that. So how long do you want to spend your time being a pro gamer here versus how long, you can get this out of the way and then maybe go into a career doing something else, whether that's coaching, commentating, or just any other career, going to university, stuff like that.
Definitely things that weigh heavily upon the minds of these professional gamers.
So,
Curious already had a long career, already a very good player, still
we've been
definitely Code S quality.
Curious for 4 years. It's been 4 years of Curious games.
Absolutely, and I mean, he continues to stay at about that level where he's like definitely one of these Zergs that you'd have to mention as a Code S player. Unfortunately for him, he's in a group that's ridiculous. Can he make it out? It's a possibility. I can't imagine him beating Hero. I can't imagine it tasteless. ByuL maybe, Dream maybe, but I think Curious is just going right back to Code A in his home.
Well, I think it won't be Code A anymore. I think it'll be Code nothing. There will be no letters. There won't even be a code, okay? Because he might actually have to quit and go to the Army after this. So
yeah, I guess
that is the drama here. That's what's on the line. You're fighting for the right to keep playing StarCraft 2 for the next few weeks. And it looks like we are close to starting this. First map is going to be Overgrowth. After that, Expedition Lost, and then King Sejong Station.
Alrighty. Let's see how these maps go. Looks like we are loading up game number 1 on Overgrowth. To see what build orders they open with Tasteless. Maybe Curious can get the jump on ByuL here and get an advantage early on.
Problem is ByuL's got a good amount of experience. He's very strong lately. ZvZ, a tricky matchup. I guess you're right. We're going to see what kind of builds they do, and of course the execution from there. ZvZ, a very volatile matchup. One thing goes wrong and stuff can spiral out of control.
Ain't that a fact?
And we're now loading up game number 1 here. Curious versus ByuL in our second best of 3 in the GSL Code S. In the upper right, in the red, he is
SBENU Curious.
in the bottom left, in the blue.
CJN2's ByuL.
Of course, if ByuL does win this, he will go on for a team kill match against CJ Hero, and who the hell knows what'll happen then.
It is always a tough one, casting teammate versus teammate.
Yes, indeed.
A lot of mind games going on that you don't really get to see. You don't know what the discussions are like in the team house. You don't know a lot of stuff. What the personal weaknesses they've either confessed to each other over the past year or two being teammates, or things they've identified. The philosophy of how to play through a best of 3 in that matchup. So those can be tough to call. Welcome down here, guys.
Synchronized
waves right there.
Great
Nicely
job,
done.
guys.
Okay, so we have hatch first for both parties.
For all parties concerned in this game.
Artosis and I also made our hatches first during this game.
Yeah.
The 3 gentlemen down there also went hatch first. We're all synced up. This is basically synchronized swimming
Our
right now.
hatches at the same time.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, it looks like a little bit different as far as the droning goes. Quicker pool here for ByuL, which means that he's playing a little bit safer, but that actually gives Curious a little bit of an edge. And this is something that you can see in mirror matchups. I would say especially PvP and ZvZ, the player that everyone looks at and thinks as a stronger player, realizes that he is in fact the stronger player and will oftentimes kind of hedge his bets and play a little bit safer, but that gives an edge to the worst player in that regard, because the worst player should be able to look at it, because it's not like they're bad, they're just like, okay, I'm a little bit worse, but he's probably going to play a little bit safer, which means, okay, I'm 2 drones up for a while, something like that, or like, okay, and in PvP, he went for a robo, so I can just skip that and have more blink stalkers, for instance. And it's a very interesting thing about these mirror matchups.
Actually, mirror matchups in general with build orders are probably in RTS one of the hardest things for people to understand.
I think that you're pretty right about that.
If you really, I mean, I know we've been doing this for like a really long time, but even when I was learning the game, trying to understand how to get ahead in a mirror matchup always felt weird, right? It was
way different than the other matchups.
Yeah, and I think that's actually true for any RTS. It doesn't matter really which one you do.
They are very... It's kind of weird, though, because for me personally, I've always had the most comfort with mirrors and understanding mirrors and playing mirrors and watching mirrors and stuff. I just like...
And looking in the mirror.
And looking in the mirror, because I'm so full of myself, such a narcissist. But no, I mean, I really like the way that you have to kind of balance it out and look at the way the edges are gained. It's very interesting.
No, I absolutely love it, and I know that the pro gamers here definitely have a good grasp of it, but normally for a viewer, it's a little bit tougher to wrap your head around that. For instance, like,
tiny edges can
what
mean
happens
everything.
if we just keep going for drones then?
Yeah.
Like, when do we actually stop here? And there could be some ambiguity with that, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's really cool to see.
And even, like the tiniest edges can be, like, making such big differences. Like, for instance, if you have 1 less stalker against a Zerg player, that might not change anything in the game, right? Like, if you're missing 1 stalker for some reason. Whereas, people would be really surprised how many top-level PvPs are decided by 1 stalker advantage.
Oh,
Someone has 1 stalker, and they're like, oh, ha-ha, and they kill him.
Or in ZvZ, you didn't make a spine crawler.
Absolutely, yeah. Or,
but then again, you could have had that extra drone.
Totally, and that's going to pay off more in the future. So, yeah, mirrors are really neat, and we see here it's still very, very mirrored. Like ByuL has played this entire game more safely. He got the slightly quicker pool. He got the slightly quicker Roach Horn here as well. But both of them clearly going for Roach builds.
Yeah, and we see with the +1 range attack, I think basically synced up. I think three gentlemen downstairs that waved at us also starting their +1 range attack right now. So, so far,
Well, they'd be a little bit behind these two, but close enough. You know?
close enough, yeah.
There probably won't be an upgrade advantage if Curious and ByuL attack them. It's a very tight window to hit Tasis.
Yes, it is. So we have the third hatch starting for both of them. That's because there's this excess of minerals, and it's really in between the time when it's convenient for either player to attack the other one. So we're going to go, most likely, unless there's some odd engagement, into a pretty dramatic long ZvZ.
I think you're right about that. Yeah.
This is not a game where either player, it would make sense for either player to attack the other one. Because if you attack the other player, you're running into a guy whose roaches are just popping out as yours walked across the map. So you don't really have any inherent advantage. They both have scouted out that the other player is going for +1, so they're both going to be evenly matched.
Yeah, it's well said. Like the travel time definitely does matter when you're doing exactly the same thing.
It's funny enough, just on the subject of mirror matchups, it takes people learning RTS games a long time to understand. For instance, you just can't attack each other. You just probably shouldn't attack each other because it's probably not going to be worth it.
Yeah.
But hold that thought. We actually see ByuL coming out here.
Yeah, he wants to poke and prod. He wants to try to figure out what's going on here. By the way, he has started a second upgrade in his second evolution chamber, so that's going to be one way that he tries to gain an edge here.
Later on, he might be the first to initiate because we haven't seen that just yet here from Curious.
Yeah, that definitely can make a difference if you have one more upgrade, even if it's a carapace, which isn't quite as good as attack here.
Now we see ByuL does back off here. Just wants to move up here, see if there's any little bit of the army that's out of position. But yeah, now he does back up. Now, important to note here, Curious does not have that armor upgrade yet. In fact, his evolution chamber's a little bit late, and that's where the drone balance game comes into play, potentially for ByuL, in favor of ByuL, the longer this game goes on.
And, you know, in a situation like this, you've got to sit back and wait and see, okay, is someone going to go for burrow movement roaches to try to outplay their opponent in that way, but with multitasking and harassments? Or will someone, for instance, try to add Hydralisks to their composition for more firepower? Or sometimes you'll see people go for Infestors, in which case you're probably going to have to see a few Spines as well, likely. But Infestors can definitely change the tide of battle as well.
We've seen a lot of games where both players, especially about a year and a half ago, people were refusing to go Hydra.
Yeah.
It was just two guys going on Roach, just bashing into each other, knowing that if you even took the time to make the Hydras, during the Roach versus Roach fight, you just run them over, and then the Hydras hatch, you just kill them immediately because they take so much damage. Hydras are only really strong if there are roaches in front of them. Yeah,
you need to have just the right balance of that, so that, and it has to be a heads-up engagement too, because Roach Pro movement, like they'll run circles around you.
I like this from ByuL. This might give him an even stronger timing up here. Don't forget his 1/1 upgrades had started a little bit earlier than Curious is, and he just gooped one of those evolution chambers.
Yeah, and he's going to have Burrow. Burrow just finished up. He's going to have Burrow movement. You'll have that +1 and +2 both quicker. So he does have potential here to get something done. He is getting ready as well for some harassment.
It is 173 to 169 supply, so they'll both be maxing out pretty quickly. That will usually post upgrades. That will trigger the attack. So we see that range upgrade getting close to being done here. He got the armor upgrade too, right? Am I crazy?
Yes.
ByuL
has the armor upgrade right now. Yeah. It looks like no engagements are going to happen before these upgrades finish, and no one has a hive, so they're going to just be tied on upgrades. But burrow movement will be available for ByuL.
Now, a lot of times you see players send out 3 or 4 roaches like this over here to one location to try to draw the other player's army back, so that when they get to the position, the bigger roach versus roach army usually favors the aggressor. So he's going to come up here. Now, even if he does this and doesn't attack, this does lock him off from the gold base and the upper left base.
Yeah, that is true. He's got to be careful, though. You got to look at the concave versus the convex here. Both players just kind of standing on sides where it's going to be very difficult for their opponents to enter in. And we're so close to the Curious's base, there's no way that he will actually be broken here. The roach counts are within 2 basically this entire time, with closer spawns for Curious to
see missile attacks just now getting done here for Curious, as well as Burrow.
Yeah, I feel like slightly better control by ByuL here.
Yeah, you can see he's fished him out a little bit here.
Yeah.
But, you know, the problem for ByuL in this moment is that even if Curious backs up, if you go too far forward, then you're going into the production, the rally point here for Curious.
And, you know, every little extra, he's getting like a few extra roaches here and there, but eventually, yeah, this happens where he didn't have enough rallying up, and Curious comes out and then basically makes up for what he lost chasing him back. So
now,
he gets like 4 free roaches right there.
The real story, though, is this hatch.
Yes.
While this battle was going on, he started up the gold base hatchery. And with that getting close to being done and Curious having no 4th base, this is a problem.
Yeah, you're
this is very scary,
right
actually. And
this is the most important thing in the game right here.
This might be the story of the game. Now is, well, beat me to it. I was going to say, now you can get this up here, but it might be attacked. Run! Oh, he just gave up. Just get it over with.
Oh, man. That drone didn't even kneel.
No, man.
So, you know, ByuL this is kind of like a little bit of a tightrope he's walking. If he ends up, like, taking a really poor engagement over here, then Curious can counterattack and kill his gold. But looks like ByuL has enough right now, and that is a great concave that he's built.
And this is also a huge overextension here by Curious. But I don't even know if ByuL built that or Curious did, because Curious kept shoving forward here. Now, again, don't forget, guys, that the gold base is done. It's being mined from. So, you know what's happening? If we could just get a shot of ByuL's hands, he's holding down the R key at his keyboard. The R key makes roaches.
Yes, indeed. And that actually went pretty well for Curious, I would say, Tasteless.
It did.
ByuL, like, he overdid it there a little bit, I think, but Curious doesn't look like he's going to push right now.
Well, it's 12 roaches being produced on each side here.
And the thing is, Curious is actually up like 12 roaches as well. I think he's not quite able to look at this and realize where he's at in the game.
I do think, though, that, here we go. ByuL beat me to it. He can actually send a small army up here to the upper right, get into the main, start doing damage, and then dive in on the gold base. Or dive in on the gold base and just kill off all the roaches.
That's a big
depending on how Curious plays this.
You know, I want to mention something. Here, Curious is playing, like, completely reactively, which I don't necessarily dislike, but ByuL is the one taking all the risks for reward. And so, Curious, like, if ByuL screws up, Curious can win this, but he's not doing anything to make himself win other than defend here.
Yeah, it's a funny way you put it, but it is very true. Now, ByuL may have made the biggest mistake so far of this game, which was attacking up in here. You can see on the left side of the screen, not an easy location for the roaches for ByuL to reinforce, which is going to make that left side very strong, which is going to slowly close this up into a nice big arc here that's going to favor Curious.
Well, Curious doing completely fine holding on to this. You do see his supply starting to get ahead quite a bit. Just now sending his drones to that gold base, but ByuL has had that for a bit, so he's able to keep up on his roach production pretty well.
You know, I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with ByuL this game. Or, excuse me, Curious this game.
Yeah, okay.
What am I talking
I was like, well, yeah, I mean, ByuL's very good, Tasteless, but I feel like Curious is actually...
I'm pretty impressed with Hero this game. His Zerg's pretty good. He has actually defended everything. Yeah. Now is in a supply lead. Got out of his gold base deficit.
Yeah, it's very cool how he's playing. Like, ByuL is waiting for Curious to do something to try to gain an edge, like I was talking about before, but Curious is refusing and just like allowing ByuL to sometimes bleed in, because this is what the best Zergs in the world do. People like ByuL in life will just be like, okay, I'll just keep on moving my roaches around. Eventually, I'll outmaneuver you. But if Curious just sits still the entire time, how do you outmaneuver a rock, Tasteless? Eventually, you have to deal with the rock that isn't moving.
I'm like, you blow it up.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Tasteless.
Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Well, there's now been 2 attacks in 2 different locations. They're still going on as he's trying to get Curious to bite the bait and actually go in and defend that. But instead, Curious says no, runs out. Problem is, this is a pretty sick arc.
Yeah,
there's actually a crescent moon of ByuL's roaches here.
That's true, but actually is more not firing because so many are on the right-hand side here. So Curious actually starts to gain an advantage here. And look at that. He has some roaches down harassing that third base as well.
Whoa! Misclick, misclick, misclick. That is going to cost him everything. Wow. If there was any chance of him recovering, that has probably been gone. It probably is gone, excuse me.
Just fantastic.
After an engagement like that. And I can't believe he just actually runs right by the gold base.
Now, I do want to point out that right now we have had a lot of drones killed over on Curious's side, but his army is just too big right now. He's going to crush through these roaches as well.
And he's actually eating the roaches as they enter into the rally point. GG. Curious wins game 1.
Very well done. Very, very well done.
Well, this guy knows how to play when not just the GSL Code S is on the line, but playing StarCraft II professionally is on the line.
Hey, he played that.
What do you say to the god of death, Artosis? Not today.
Wow. Well, that's what Curious is saying. If ByuL is in fact that god of death, but if he does beat him, he has to fight another god of death in Hero. And that could be a tough one. But you know what? I like Curious's approach here. Played very defensively. The very, very top players in the world, right at this moment, all mix it up a lot, all are on the map a lot, trying to out-multitask you.
Yeah.
This includes ByuL in Life. This includes like Maru in Dream. This includes Hero in Parting. I think that this is a good way for Curious to approach this group. I'd actually, if he wins this, I want to see him do the same against Hero. I want to see a defensive Roach Hydra into Viper type of style and see if he can't make his opponents bleed into him a little bit with very good defense. I think it's
like
really cool.
Also, we see the coach going in here right now, or I believe there might be assistant coach actually, for ByuL. And I'm wondering if they're actually talking about the way he played that game or just his mindset. You know, he is a teammate of Hero. We saw Hero shoot up to the winner's match. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Now we're sitting here with ByuL, and ByuL is not having the kind of games that Hero is. Doesn't mean he can't get out of this group, but it's certainly going to be a much tougher group for ByuL, at least from the looks of it, than it will be for Hero.
It does look that way. I do have to give him a little bit of credit that this is a ZvZ. If Hero had played against, let's say, Trap, the Protoss equivalent of Curious, in that first game, I think that it might have looked a little bit closer than what it did against Dream.
Expedition Lost is going to be map number 2. Curious against ByuL. It's just now loaded up. Let's see if Curious still has it in him. Again, if he loses this here, he may be forced to go to his compulsory military service. He'll have to go through ByuL and one other player, possibly 2 more, if he wants to survive here today. In the bottom left, in the red, he is
SBENU Curious.
in the upper right, in the blue.
CJN2's ByuL.
So far had a pretty tough day today. I did like the way he was playing early on, but whoa, never mind. Forget about how he's playing back in that last game. He's going to go ahead and go for
8 pool.
An 8 pool.
Well, it's good to mix this type of stuff in, man. You have to mix it up a little bit.
Although it is pretty regrettable if you lose with a build like this in game 2. I think ByuL definitely had an edge early on against Curious. He just didn't know when to shift gears.
Yeah.
If Curious manages to just swallow this attack up, and then ByuL can't recover from there, that's going to be a painful mindset for ByuL to bring with him into the losers match here in our 4th best of 3.
Well, hey, he's catching a hatchery first staceless, so this might work out well for ByuL. See how many drones Curious makes after that.
Thank your lucky stars right now, ByuL. So far, so good. Will there be a second drone too?
Can we get a gas? No, he's going to pool.
Yep.
Oh,
no,
gas! Uh-oh, hatch, drone, gas. Well, now he goes pool, obviously.
And now we will cast you the most modern rock, paper, scissors game you will ever see. Actually, maybe not. Sometimes you control well enough as Curious. You just, but I mean, people have gotten pretty good at controlling on both sides with this.
Certainly.
And, well, let's just see.
Yeah, let's see how he ends up handling this. There's a big range of the amount of drones and stuff that can be killed here.
You of course want to go into the main here first. Try to get as many drones as possible. Get that pool a little bit past halfway done.
Very good micro so far by ByuL. Very
tough position here for Curious, by the way, with these drones. Takes a lot of practice in situations like this, because even if these lings aren't killing your drones, if they're not mining, they're still not doing what they need to do.
Not the greatest mineral patches in the world either. There's better mineral patch setups for him to micro against this.
Okay, so now they're stuck just over there. Okay, so ByuL, I don't know if you could be handling this that much better, considering that it's now no minerals mined a minute right now on our at the upper right-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, he's starting to get drones too. This is getting out of hand completely.
That might just do it.
Yeah, it looks like, I think that this is getting to critical levels very quickly.
Yeah, this is where it starts to, you start to lose at an exponential rate. It's 12 workers to 9.
You know what?
But it is 2 hatches to,
Yeah.
you know, 1 hatch done, 1 hatch started, as we see over here.
The fact that he still has that hatchery definitely is something you have to take into consideration here. That that extra production can have Curious catch up really much quicker. He did go down to 9 drones there against 12, but now they're about even, and he has that extra hatch. So, you know, it didn't do as much as I guess it could have. When you get like that low on drones, every drone kill is like another knife wound.
Yeah. Look, it's harder and harder and harder to bounce back. I mean, let's say you have 7 drones instead of 10.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, that's like all broken ribs against 1 broken rib or something. Like,
yeah,
it's a huge difference when it's.
You get on
like
a 5 broken ribs,
10.
now all your toes are broken too.
Yeah. Well, now you have a septic infection. It's like, whoa. Well, that's pretty bad. Yeah. But looks like Kiri's going to get a gas. Probably we'll see ByuL do that relatively soon as well, I'd imagine.
So it looks like actually Curious handled this about as well as he could. It's too bad that engagement. Let's go back for a second and talk about the way minerals are set up. If we could actually see it at ByuL's natural expansion, there's a mineral patch like this.
Yes.
Well, and I believe there's one at Curious's natural expansion.
Yes.
It is when you have 3.
It's not quite as good there, but at the one at ByuL's is great.
So hopefully we'll eventually get a shot of that, but it makes a little nook.
Yeah.
That you can put all your drones in, and it's covered by the top and the bottom, just above this gas geyser we see it. And so you can actually take all your drones, stick them in there, and then the Lings don't have as much of a surround, as you can see right up there. And the problem is then the drones, well, problem for the Zergling player, I should say, is that the drones can't quite...
You get almost no surface area on
Yeah,
it.
they can't quite get around.
When he got all those drones at the end, Curious was using his micros best he could. You know, you spam to keep them together, and then you have them all shoot as much as at once as you possibly can at the Lings. If he had that little nook, like, first off, if he had that little nook, ByuL may not have done an early pool here. That is definitely something you have to take into consideration when doing a Zergling rush.
Yeah.
He would not have killed as many drones. Absolutely not.
And if he had not killed as many drones, it would have been a very different game.
Yeah. Suddenly it gets out of control. If he kills like 3 less drones, it's like, well, I guess you're done, ByuL. Anyways, both players going for layer. We have ByuL grabbing that Roach Horn rather quickly, whereas Curious adding those 3 gases. Looks like he may be going for a Mutalisk build.
And this is where we're going to see 2 pretty different builds coming here from the 2 players. You know, Roach, Warren coming up here. You can get that 3rd base, as we see ByuL already doing over here at the top. Curious is going to have to stay 2 bases for a little bit longer. When you're taking that many gases, you're obviously going to have to mine from them, or it wouldn't make any sense to get them in the first place. So you don't have as many excess minerals to make another hatch here.
Well, right now we do have that speed and Baneling nest on the way.
What do you think about this? A few extra drones in the Baneling's nest just to be safe?
Yeah, I think the Baneling nest is a safety precaution, and like when you're going Spire, I think you need speed and a big plume of Lings to have some semblance of power on the map.
Yeah, mutas alone aren't anywhere near as strong as muta Ling.
Yeah.
Now, the Lings are always going to be dying, but you don't really care, actually, if the Lings are dying, because the Lings get in the way of the ground army, and then the mutas do all this damage.
Now look at this. For instance, if he killed a group of roaches or canceled the 3rd base, his advantage is gigantic when those mutas pop out. But if someone like secures 3 bases when you're going mutas on the, you know, what is pretty much a 2-base economy at that moment, that becomes pretty painful.
This is a tricky part here for ByuL. He's got to defend these 2 locations. There are mutas about to hatch out here. Now that was a great play there by ByuL. He goes behind the minerals there. And, oh my god, did he actually fit through there for a second? He could actually have ran by. Don't know if that would have been worth it, but...
Yeah, I think he's a little bit nervous about that. Like, if there happen to be roaches coming down the ramp or something, he might lose the game because of a move like that.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like,
but I'm saying Curious could have actually run up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying like from the main ramp.
Right.
Like, let's say there were 3 roaches on that ramp. You're like, oh.
That's a good point. If that's blocked off, he's in some serious doo-doo.
Yeah. Much rather have the group of Lings. But we do have the mutas on the way.
Yeah, 9 of them actually coming up here. And at the same time, ByuL's moving across the map. Now, this may be a problem because there's nothing to hit air here in the middle of the map, at least.
But that is a lot, and they have +1, which means that they're going to two-shot Lings. So definitely let's...
That is true.
They're going to kill Lings really fast. Well, a couple Spines definitely going to deal quite a bit of damage to them. But they are at least keeping the mutas at home.
That's true. These Lings also keeping reinforcements at home. Now, this is a good enough number of mutas right now. Doing a lot of damage to these drones. We already have 13 workers killed. He's sending a few more roaches over there into the center, bottom left main, excuse me.
And the mutas will, of course, eventually kill all these off, but has ByuL done enough damage? I would say, yeah.
Absolutely. 14 drones killed.
It's pretty awesome, and he's even making some spores at home. His third base is rather naked, so there might be a possibility that he can do something against that, but I think, yeah, this is such a nice move to continually move out these roaches. Lings alone are not going to defend against +1 roaches.
Also, with Roach Burrow, it makes it much more of a nightmare to try to keep track.
That's true.
So playing a game of whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-roach.
Whack-a-roach. Well, how many tickets you get for whacking all those roaches? Enough to get you to the winner's match at least, but not to get you that PlayStation 1 controller that costs about 1,300 tickets.
Or the toaster from 1988.
Yeah, yeah. or the WWE PlayStation 1 game. It's like 1 million tickets. You're like, well, I mean, couldn't I just buy this used for like 19 bucks?
If that.
Well, you know, the mutas, unfortunately, you don't normally want to use them to defend. It's great that they can defend, but the problem is if mutas you want to have active on the map, punishing, you know, and exploiting holes in the defense of your opponent's base. So having them back like this, I think ByuL is pretty primed to win this. He can send this other Roach army down here.
Definitely do like his spot. I appreciate that Curious just continually makes mutas realizing that to switch to Roach here is to concede the game.
It's suicide.
Yeah. He's got to, like, not only stop the roaches, but then just get this mass of mutas that his opponent can't deal with. And if he stops the roaches, that it might already be just about there, where you can't like increment out queens or hydras to deal with this many mutas.
Yeah, this may be that critical mass where things just, everything dies. Unfortunately, Curious not with the best control of his Overseer, or Overseers, I should say. He's not able to keep track of those roaches at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. He's doing a good job driving these ones back.
You think those Overseers need to, I don't know, watch over the roaches a bit more?
I think they need to be in the same control group as those mutas for the most part, Artosis. That'd be my pro tip of the day. But,
okay.
Now we have that, those 4 roaches coming up. I think that should be taken care of. No!
Ooh,
no!
Just before those extra spines get, that's really annoying. But he has more mutas coming. He can still deal with that. That's a lot of queens as well. But if you target on the ones with the most energy first, maybe you can break through. It's quite an investment, though. Oh, nice catch there.
Yeah, you know what? With that creep not being connected, that's pretty bad.
Those are the moves that you need. And even taking out some spores, realizing all the queens over at that third base, being very flexible with his attacks.
This is becoming a bit of a bloodbath here. Almost, well, actually nowhere safe for Curious to mine from. But at the same time, Muta's really with a big mobility advantage. Looks like there's a high chance his hatchet could be taken out. And he's eventually going to claim those roaches, all the roaches in the main, so then even more mutas are going to come up here. Mining time delayed for both, but that's pretty scary actually for ByuL right now.
Oh man, the queens are actually starting to be taken out. He is making extra spores though, and that's really important because spores are actually how you kill the mutas.
Well, spores are the only thing that's going to keep him alive in this game, but I'm also really worried about a big Ling muta counterattack.
Yeah, very true.
Got to be careful though. Got to be very, very safe with these mutas. Do not pick a fight that you do not absolutely have to pick. And we actually have enough minerals here for a lot more Lings if he opts to try to just... Actually, I don't know if he can end this. I think I spoke too soon.
Yeah, he's just droning, but we have 7 infestors on the way, which are really going to cramp his Mutalist style, Tasus. Oh boy.
Yeah.
He's going to take these Mutalists and put them in the teacher's drawer.
Well, he's going to continue to take out these extra
get
roaches.
them back at the end of the school year, Tasus. These mutas are going away very soon, I think. Yeah, there they.
Yep. Now they're able to move around pretty easily. I don't dislike what Curious is doing now, but it's pretty futile. You can see the patience here from ByuL. Going to wait until the moment the mutas are absolutely clumped up to go ahead and fungal them.
Well, more Lings on the way here. Maybe he misses some fungals. Maybe some Lings get on top of those Infestors. They die very quickly to things like that. And where, yeah, the Infestor's actually a little bit out of position. Does he have all 7 of them? Yeah, he had all 7 of them together. I wouldn't mind him splitting a little bit more. Like,
yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's probably not necessary to do that. And here we go! Okay. I'm fungling about half that army there. And actually, he's going to be able to get the rest of this army here. As we're going to have GG typed out. ByuL wins game number 2. It's now wrapped up 1-1. Tied up 1-1, not wrapped up.
It's all over, guys.
It's all over, guys. 1-1.
Euro goes on. These two are going to play again.
They both go on to the losers match to have a best of 3.
All right. Well, a nice pickup there by ByuL. Good control of the mutas, pushing his burrow movement roaches all around the map to continually put out damage and keep those mutas at bay. But Curious, he was really smart about it. He kept on the mutas. He tried to find a way back in, and it looked like he almost could for a little bit, but just not quite. Too many spores put up.
Game number 3 should be pretty interesting. The map will be King Sejong Station. I honestly think either of these two could move on and win.
Yeah, Curious is playing quite well today.
He is. He got hit pretty hard with those roaches.
Yeah.
And I don't think he really had an answer from there. ByuL definitely knew the timing of those roaches. That's one of the harder timings, I'd say, to do. Because if you hit at the wrong point, the mutas kill everything.
The mutas are already hatched going across the map when you're moving out. That's trouble.
That's trouble.
Because they have a lot of time to pick off your roaches then, but he got in there in time. Definitely did the damage he needed done. But the next map going to be King Sejong Station. Definitely want to be a bad map to try mute on again, I think. Quite a far distance for roaches to run on this one.
Let's see what happens now. The map is loading up. King Sejong Station, Curious against ByuL. The winner goes on to face off against Hero, one of the potential favorites here of the GSL Code S.
Jump it.
Over here in the upper left in the red, he is
SBENU Curious.
The greatest shoe company on earth.
Woo! In the bottom right in the blue, he is
CJN2's ByuL.
That shoe company sponsors the greatest esports show of all time.
Yeah. The audience filled out a little bit more tonight than when we first started.
As always, guys, you should make it out to the GOM studio at least once in your life.
It should be on everyone's bucket list.
GOM studio, see the pyramids.
That's about it.
Hike Everest if you're physically fit up to it.
After going to the GSL studio and you go back to the pyramids and you see the hieroglyphs, you're like, whoa, did Hero make the pyramids? I'm pretty sure I see his picture here.
Well, it is looking like it's going to be Hatch first for both players. Hatch on 15 supply. And when we have Zerg vs. Zergs like this, you pretty much want to watch the production tab. It will tell us everything we need. This matchup really is, and I know you could say this about all StarCraft matchups, but really in ZvZ, the early game is so limited to what buildings were made when and where. Mm-hmm. You can't speculate anything else until you see that.
Sure, absolutely. We do see here that Curious is going to gain a little bit of an advantage because ByuL playing safe once again. So he did safe, 8-pool safe. Well, Hatch first directly into pool, so I mean by safe, but like the difference between that and this definitely makes it way safer against things like the 8-pool that he just did. Yeah, so just have to wait a little bit. These builds will end up pretty close to each other, like pretty darn close. Just a different order of things. Tastes, I haven't seen you in a few days. What have you been up to?
I was playing a bunch of Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah,
It's great.
that's good.
I'm loving it. I'm curious to see how much that game grows.
Curious.
I'm sure that every person who ever talks too much in Twitch chat definitely has a very strong opinion.
You mean
As
about
will be
Tasis
the-
playing another game, or the fact that Doto is better, or something?
That Doto is better, that League of Legends is bigger. Or Yeah, if there was one chat conversation that just will probably never go away. Is he going to get this Overlord?
Yeah.
Look at that. Blah.
That is actually a
Pretty
Taiwanese
important.
strategy.
Yeah.
Popularized by Taiwanese players. I don't know who actually invented it first. Probably. Someone's like, I did.
I did that.
It was me on the first day of the beta.
We were doing that on the Southeast Asian server a long time ago.
Could be.
Me and these two guys in Gold League.
Could be. And now out it goes into the world.
Yep.
Make its own
You're all
way.
grown up. Good luck to you.
That spore does not have a trust fund, guys.
That is the Jorah Mormont spore. Out of the kingdom with you.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I think just moving the spore out in general forced a bunch of lings from Curious. Now, this might backfire and kill ByuL, but I wonder about this because when this strategy first was really popping up, a lot of times people would make a bunch of lings with it and then go across the map and like try to kill an Overlord. In this case, Curious is actually making a ton of Zerglings, and he is hiding them until speed is done. Oh gosh. And he's going to be able to sneak out pretty well.
This game could end very quickly. The lings are coming down now.
That is a lot of lings,
And
Tasteless.
this really is not just about knowing this after the battle. It's how soon did you find out. So we see frantically ByuL trying to wall in here. In fact, that spore coming back there later on to do somewhat of a wall. And he's going to have to tuck that up with the Queen now. But this is just so many Zerglings.
Oh,
Another
man.
Evolution Chamber does go down here.
Some great SimCity going on right now, Tasteless. His Queen with the most energy actually in the front. A small mistake there. But he's holding on okay so far. Some lings coming up, but it looks like Curious starting to break through.
Oh my god, those lings barely squeezed between those eggs as they before they hatch now. This means the Queen over here at the top is going to be taking more damage. After the Spine Crawler goes down, no more spines and too many Evolution Chambers for the time being. I think this game number 3, is going to go to Curious.
Oh, it looks like it, Tasteless. A very nice play here by Curious to make this giant set of lings. Not too complicated of a strategy, but it is doing the job.
The lings are going to come around now with a very nice surround, just doing so much damage. GG.
Wow.
Curious wins that best of 3, which means he's going to go on to face off against Hero.
I love it, man. Really well done by Curious. Congrats to him to go up to this winner match in this group that is ridiculous and could be considered the group of death.
Now, I think Curious is going to face a much larger threat here. ByuL's teammate here. Hero, that's going to be a tough game, but hey, he looked very good. Even if he loses there, he still has another best of 3 to win from. And this gentleman over here, unfortunately, is going to go down to the losers match, our 4th best of 3.
That's right. He has to play against Dream, which is that is an easy round of 4 in GSL. You know, those guys are that good. But one of them is going to be eliminated first.
Well, Curious looking very focused right now, as in just a few minutes he is going to be going up against Hero. Who knows? Maybe he'll beat Hero. I still think it should be a 2-0, 2-1.
I think it'll be a 2-0.
Let's see. We already thought that Curious might lose that match. He looked brilliant. We're going to go to a short break. When we return, the winners match here for today's GSL Code S.